guys, welcome back to, I was gonna say my channel, but I don't really have a channel and I don't even know if this will go onto a channel per se, or if it'll go onto like Instagram live or something. We'll find out. Or will we? Who knows? This recording could go down the drain like that. So welcome to whatever we're doing. I'm temporarily calling whatever we're doing Midnight Hun. I thought that was kind of fun. I'm a Dublin gal, and you know, I like to work that into my Twilight Renaissance, which is clearly at its peak right here, right now. So that's temporary name, we'll say. If you have an idea for something better, please tell me, because I'm not attached to Midnight Hun. I say as if this is something that serious that actually fucking needs a name. Anyway, so yeah, welcome to this thing that I'm doing from the suggestion and light pressure of my friends. This is for, like, what's that fucking thing you put at the start of like a school yearbook? The like statement of the school, like, this is what we fucking do. The whatever that is for this is basically like if you had a Twilight phase and you want to know the levels of cringe that are contained in Midnight Sun, but you can't be bothered to read the book yourself. I'm here, gracious being that I am, to, I don't know, read it to you, react with it, to it with you, whatever. Do something with this book by Stephenie Meyer that I did not write, and copyright is not mine. So yeah, I haven't read it yet. I'm actually so excited to finally be recording this, because I said I would do it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then, you know, I was gonna say I was busy. There's a pandemic on. I have not been busy, but I just didn't fucking do this. So here we are. So yeah, I haven't read it, so my reactions will be #live. I'm hoping they'll be somewhat entertaining. They might not be. I'm just hoping that this book is entertaining enough, which I think it will be. I recently rewatched the Twilight films, and rewatching Twilight, it was like watching a comedy, because every 2 minutes I literally had to pause and go, because some of that shit, it's very 2000 and whatever year it was made, you know? But I love it deep down, past the cringe, so I'm hoping this has a little bit of that energy to it. I read it years ago when it was leaked like a bad bitch on Tumblr, but I have no memory of what happened. So I'm really excited to be reading this. Without further ado, let's go. There's 20, oh my god. In my head, you know, me reading this becomes successful, and I do a chapter for every like episode of this. This is not probably gonna happen, but there's 29 chapters in this thing. I thought there was like 16 or 17, so we'll see. Just open the first page, it's so exciting. Okay, so here we go, guys. This is so exciting. So the first chapter is called First Sight. This was the time of day when I most wished I were able to sleep. High school. Oh. Like, I wish I were asleep right now. Or was, oh my god, now it got so much worse the next sentence. Or was purgatory the right word? Sir, the 108-year-old Christian jumped out, oh my god. If there were any way to atone for my sins, this ought to count toward the tally in some measure. The tedium was not something I grew used to. Every day seemed more impossibly monotonous than the last. Perhaps this could even be considered my form of sleep, if sleep was defined as the inert state between active periods. Damn, what a read on the education system. Like, sir, hello? There we go. I stared at the cracks running through the plaster in the far corner of the cafeteria, imagining patterns into them that were not there. It was one way to tune out the voices that babbled like the gush of a river inside my head. That is such a fan fiction line. Do you know what? Like, anything compared to a river. A fan fiction line, or like a junior cert like essay line. Like, bloody blah bubbled like a gushing river, babbling brook, like, and your teacher would go, oh my god, a metaphor, a comparison, a simile, and also, you know, what the fuck is the word? Where there's two consonants the same, babbling brook. Alliteration, bitch. That would be an A+ junior cert essay. So you know what? Good job, Miss Meyer. Today, all thoughts were consumed with the trivial drama of a new addition to the small student body. Oh, bitch. The excitement over her arrival was tiresomely predictable. It was the same reaction as one would get from flashing a shiny object at a group of toddlers. Half the sheep-like males were already imagining themselves infatuated with her just because she was something new to look at. Only 4 voices did I block out of courtesy rather than the distaste. My family. My 2 brothers and 2 sisters, who were so used to the lack of privacy in my presence that they rarely worried about it. Rosalie was thinking, as usual, about herself. Her mind was a stagnant pool with few surprises. Sir? She really said, Rosalie fucking no thoughts head empty. That's so mean! Oh my god, not the next line! This shit, I keep reacting and then the next line is literally worse. She'd caught sight of her profile in the reflection of someone's glasses and she was mulling over her own perfection. You know what? The god complex in me. That's me. You know whenever you're sitting there and there's like, you see yourself in like a teapot or a spoon and there's just that moment of like, maybe I do deserve it all. Maybe I am gorgeous. This is Rosalie. You know what? Me and her, we're not so unalike. Skinny blonde girl, fat brunette bitch. But hey, we're not so unalike. No one else's hair was closer to true gold. No one else's shape was quite so perfectly an hourglass. No one else's face was such a flawless symmetrical oval. I hope that's him, no, her thinking those things and not him. Because that's Sweet Home Alabama, that's your sister. Emmett's usually carefree expression was crumpled with frustration. Even now, he ran one enormous hand through his ebony curls, twisting the hair into his fist. Doesn't Emmett have like no fucking hair in the first film? What the fuck, guys? And Jasper was suffering. I suppressed a sigh. Me in college, boo, I feel ya. Edward. Alice called my name in her head and had my attention at once. Jasper looked paralysed, his lean form ramrod straight, even his honey hair seeming not to react to the air wafting from the vents. Is there any danger? She searched ahead into the immediate future, skimming through visions of monotony for the source behind my frown. Even as she did so, she remembered to tuck one tiny fist under her sharp chin and blink regularly. She brushed a tuft of her short, jagged black hair out of her eyes. Short, jagged black hair, you say? Oh my god, maybe like mine? A few people know this about me, but whenever I was in, I'm gonna say like 4th and 5th class, I would style my hair like Alice every single day, and I would like have a shower at night, blow dry my hair like fucking perpendicular to my head, and then I would sleep in my bed like arms crossed like this, hairspray to my fucking pillow, so that my hair the next day would be like her fucking hair in the first movie. So yeah, Alice, I feel you. I too took a tuft of my short black jagged hair out of my eyes. I turned my head slowly to the left, as if looking at the bricks of the wall, sighed, and then turned to the right, back to the cracks in the ceiling. The others would assume I was playing human. Only Alice knew I was shaking my head. Thanks for doing this. I was glad I couldn't answer her aloud. What would I say? My pleasure? It was hardly that. Hang on, this is like... Surely he's been in the school for like a year already. Like, obviously we didn't get the book before this Fionnuala, so she's making a point of how they do the mental conversations, but like... Jasper really did. I didn't enjoy tuning into Jasper's struggles. I fucking love that. Was it really necessary? Or no, I don't enjoy tuning into Jasper's struggles. Like anyone speaking to me in college. Literally, like onto my radio station of constant screaming. Jasper was very dangerous right now. Ooh. At that moment, a small girl paused at the end of the closest table to ours, stopping to talk to a friend. She tossed her short, sandy hair, combing her fingers through it. The heaters blew her scent in our direction. Jasper was letting his imagination get away from him. He was picturing it. Picturing himself getting up from his seat next to Alice, and going to stand beside the little girl, imagining how the hot flow of her pulse beneath the weak barrier of her skin would feel under his mouth. That's some self-insert shit. Like, Edward's here being like, well, Jasper is thinking this. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that girl is probably thinking the fucking same. In her head, she's like, and then he fucking kisses me on the neck, and then he, like, we've seen these men, we know what's up. I kicked his chair. He met my gaze, his black eyes resentful for a second, and then looked down. I could hear shame and rebellion war in his head. I'm sorry, I just read rebellion war and I was like, oh yes, the Confederate soldier literally fucking jumped out. Was there any need? But obviously, it is the shame and the rebellion warring. He is not, you know. Sorry, Jasper muttered. I shrugged. You weren't going to do anything, Alice murmured to him, soothing his mortification. I could see that. I fought back the frown that would give her lie away. We had to stick together, Alice and I. It wasn't easy being the freaks among those who were already freaks. We protected each other's secrets. That's a fucking Tumblr statement. Like, oh my god. Also, I realised that I'm like reacting really quickly and then jumping back in. Leave a note down in the comment section if you think that's really shit and I should properly come out and react. But again, this could go nowhere. I could just be talking to my camera for the fucking laughs. It helps a little if you think of them as people, Alice suggested, her high musical voice racing too fast for human ears to understand, if any had been close enough to hear. Her name is Whitney. She has a baby sister she adores. Her mother invited Esme to that garden party. Do you remember? I know who she is, Jasper said curtly. He would have to hunt tonight. It was ridiculous to take risks like this, trying to test his strength to build his endurance. Jasper should just accept his limitations and work within them. Alice sighed silently and stood, taking her tray of food, her prop as it were, with her and leaving him alone. She knew when he'd had enough of her encouragement. Edward. Reflex reaction. I turned to the sound of my name being called, though it isn't being called, just thought. My eyes locked for half a second with a pair of large, chocolate brown human eyes set in a pale, heart-shaped face. Oh, it's our bitch! Also, like, this is a dummy thing maybe, but like, clearly they're sitting... Oh no, okay, I'm done. No, wait! I was gonna say, like, you know the way in the first film, Bella is talking to Jessica and then they all walk in and they do the whole thing of like, that's Rosalie and Emmett and that's blah blah blah, that's Jasper, he looks like he's gonna die. Like, shouldn't they kind of like still be walking by the time Bella says Edward's name in her head for the first time? I smell a continuity issue. Sorry, so he's just locked eyes with Bella. I knew the face, though I'd never seen it myself before this moment. It had been foremost in every human head today. The new student, Isabella Swan, daughter of the town's chief of police, brought to live here by some new custody situation. Bella. She had corrected everyone who'd used her full name. I looked away, bored. It took me a second to realise that she had not been the one to think my name. Of course she's already crushing on the Cullens, I heard the first thought continue. Now I recognised the voice. Jessica Stanley. It had been a while since she'd bothered me with her internal chatter. What a relief it had been when she'd gotten over her misplaced fixation. It used to be nearly impossible to escape her constant ridiculous daydreams. Honestly, bitch, me if I was in that school. Now those TikToks and it's like when I take a fucking like detour in my maladaptive daydream and Edward Cullen's there like that would be, I would be Jessica Stanley. I wouldn't have the fun maladaptive daydream. It would be Jessica Stanley being like, I'm so in love with you, and he would just have to sit there like, great, loving this. I'd wished at the time that I could explain to her exactly what would have happened if my lips and the teeth behind them had gotten anywhere near her. That would have silenced those annoying fantasies. As if they would have silenced them. I see, like, not to be a fucking, like, Twilight veteran, but I see a bit of myself in Jessica Stanley. The thought of her reaction almost made me smile. Fat lot of good it'll do her, Jessica went on. Sorry, I nearly fucking gave her a full Dublin accent there. She's really not even pretty. I don't know why Eric is staring so much, or Mike. This put a mean edge to Jessica's thoughts, though she was outwardly cordial to the newcomer as she explained to her the commonly held knowledge about my family. The new student must have asked about us. Everyone's looking at me today too, Jessica thought smugly. Isn't it lucky Bella has 2 classes with me? I'll bet Mike will want to ask me what she's... I tried to block the inane chatter out of my head before the petty and the trivial could drive me mad. I listened to hear what this new girl Bella thought of Jessica's story. What did she see when she looked at the strange, chalky-skinned family that was universally avoided? It was my responsibility to know her reaction. I acted as a lookout, for lack of a better word, for my family, to protect us. If anyone ever grew suspicious, I could give us early warning and an easy retreat. It happened occasionally. Some human with an active imagination would see us in us the characters of a book or a movie. Oh my god, I wonder what book or series of movies. Break the fourth frickin' wall. Anyway, usually they got it wrong, but it was better to move on somewhere new than to risk scrutiny. I tell you right, I know there's that fucking thing going around that Stephenie Meyer is writing like 4 more books or something. I'd kind of love like a book about like other people who've guessed or have like gotten away with it or something. Like another Bella, but like she doesn't actually get as entangled with them, but she like, they have the tea, you know? That'd be fun. Oh, that hadn't happened for decades. Never mind, maybe that character doesn't really exist. I heard nothing, though I listened close beside where Jessica's frivolous internal monologue continued to gush. It was as if there was no one sitting beside her. How peculiar. Had the girl moved? That didn't seem likely, as Jessica was still babbling at her. I looked up, feeling off balance, checking on my extra hearing. It wasn't something I ever had to do. Grandad Edward had to check his hearing aids. Again, my gaze locked onto those wide brown eyes. She was sitting right where she had been before and looking at us. Warm, inviting red stained her cheeks as she looked down, away from the embarrassing gaffe of getting caught staring at a stranger. The emotions had been as clear on her face as if they were spelled out in words. Surprise, as she unknowingly absorbed the signs of the subtle differences between her kind and mine. Curiosity, as she listened to Jessica's tale. And something more. Fascination? It wouldn't be the first time. We were beautiful to them, our intended prey. Then, finally, the embarrassment. And yet, though her thoughts had been so clear in her odd eyes, odd because of the depth to them, I was like, bitch, like, what are you saying? I could hear only silence from the place she was sitting. Just silence. I felt a moment of unease. This was nothing I'd ever encountered. Was there something wrong with me? I felt exactly the same as I always did. What, 108 years old and cold? Like, worried, I listened harder. All the voices I'd been blocking were suddenly shouting in my head. I wonder what music she likes. Maybe I can mention my new CD. Mike Newton was thinking 2 tables away, focused on Bella Swan. Look at him staring at her. Isn't it enough that he has half the girls in the school waiting for him to... Eric Yorkie's thoughts were caustic and also revolving around the girl. God, I always forget his second name is Yorkie. That's an unfortunate second name. So disgusting. You'd think she was famous or something. Even Edward Cullen staring. Lauren Mallory was so jealous that her face, by all rights, should be a dark jade in colour. And Jessica flaunting her new best friend. What a joke. Vitriol continued to spew from the girl's thoughts. I bet everyone has asked her that, but I'd like to talk to her. What's something more original? Ashley Downing mused. Maybe she'll be in my Spanish, June Richardson hoped. Tons left to do tonight. Trig and the English test. I hope my mom, Angela Weber, a quiet girl whose thoughts were unusually kind, was the only one at the table who wasn't obsessed with this Bella. Oh, that's so cute. I love Angela. That's so sweet. Oh, all the rest of them though, fucking out. It's like, bitch, bitch, horny bitch. Oh my god, it's like that fucking scene in the fucking restaurant when he's like, talking about sex and money, money and sex. Wow, I wonder where I got that thought from, like. Which one is the boy with the reddish brown hair? I heard her ask, sneaking another look at me from the corner of her eye, only to glance quickly away when she saw that I was still staring. Fucking Edward here, like. And if I'd had time to hope that hearing the sound of her voice would help me pinpoint the tone of her thoughts, I was instantly disappointed. Oh, good luck, idiot, Jessica thought before answering the girl's question. That's Edward. He's gorgeous, of course, but don't waste your time. He doesn't date. Apparently none of the girls here are good looking enough for him, she snorted quietly. I turned my head away to hide my smile. Jessica and her classmates had no idea how lucky they were that none of them particularly appealed to me. You girls are so lucky that I have just such high standards. Beneath the transient humour, I felt a strange impulse. one I did not clearly understand. It had something to do with the vicious edge to Jessica's thoughts that the new girl was unaware of. I examined the new girl one more time through Jessica's eyes now, so he's bouncing around the room. Perhaps it was just some long-buried protective instinct, the strong for the weak. There were a faint crease between her eyebrows that she seemed unaware of. It was unbelievable. There's an exclamation point at the end of this sentence. It was unbelievably frustrating. I could easily see that it was a strain for her to sit there, to make conversation with strangers, to be the centre of attention. I could sense her shyness from the way she held her frail-looking shoulders, slightly hunched as if she was expecting a rebuff at any moment. "Shall we?" Rosalie murmured, interrupting my focus. I turned my mind away from the girl with a sense of relief. I didn't want to continue to fail at this. Failure was a rare thing for me, and even more irritating than it was uncommon. I didn't want to develop any interest in her hidden thoughts simply because they were hidden. No doubt when I did decipher them, and I would find a way to do so, they would be just as petty and trivial as any humans. "So, is the new one afraid of us yet?" Emmett asked, still waiting for my response to his earlier question. I shrugged. I headed off for my junior level biology lesson, preparing my mind for the tedium. It was doubtful that Mr. Banner, a man of no more than average intellect, would manage to pull out anything in his lecture that would surprise someone holding 2 medical degrees. I feel like that's something new. I feel like I've seen that on like TikTok or like Tumblr or something, like from the first like release chapters, that he has 2 medical degrees. But like, also, new continuity error, fucking whenever Bella gets bit by James at the end of the first fucking series, first film. Okay, like I know he's not like bad, as in he's not like, oh, ooh, what do, don't know how to medically take care of this person who's dying, but he's also not like jumping at shit, and like, if he has 2 medical degrees, mans should be up there like Carlisle, you know? In the classroom, I settled into my chair and let my books, props again. They held nothing I didn't already know. Okay, sir, we get that you're a genius, but reel it in. Spill across the table. I was the only student who had a table to himself. The humans weren't smart enough to know that they feared me, but their innate survival instincts were enough to keep them away. Because I'd been thinking about the new girl, when Angela Weber escorted her through the door, her name intruded on my attention. Bella seems just as shy as me. I'll bet today is really hard for her. I wish I could say something, but it would probably just sound stupid. I love Angela. She's so cute. Oh, what a queen. I want an Angela book. Fuck this. I don't want any, fucking resume and Jacob shit. I want Angela. Yes, Mike Newton thought, turning in his seat to watch the girls enter. Still, from the place where Bella Swan stood, nothing. The empty space where her thoughts should be vexed and unnerved me. The girl walked down the aisle beside me, headed to the teacher's desk. Poor girl, the seat next to me was the only one available. Bella Swan walked into the flow of heated air that blew toward me from the vent. Her scent hit me like a battering ram. I fucking read that as battering van. Like fucking beep beep Magus run over. Like an exploding grenade. There was no image violent enough to encompass the force of what happened to me in that moment. The mystery of her thoughts was forgotten. Her thoughts meant nothing, for she would not go on thinking them much longer. Jesus. Okay. I was a vampire, and she had the sweetest blood I'd smelled in more than 80 years. My muscles coiled to spring. Not a full second had passed. She was still taking the same step that had put her downwind from me. As her foot touched the ground, her eyes slid towards me. A movement she clearly meant to be. Sorry. Her eyes slid towards me. Feels like they're like on a table and the table is like rolling, so they go whoop in her head, obviously. Her eyes slid towards me, a movement she clearly meant to be stealthy. Her gaze met mine, and I saw myself reflected in the mirror of her eyes. The shock of the face I saw there saved her life for a few thorny moments. She didn't make it easier. When she processed the expression on my face, blood flooded her cheeks again, turning her skin the most delicious colour I'd ever seen. Reel it in, Hannibal Lecter. Like, come on, man. The scent swirled around me, scattering my thoughts and nearly propelling me out of my seat. No. My hand gripped under the edge of the table as I tried to hold myself in my chair. The wood was not up to the task. Damn, son, the wood was not up to the task? What? My hand crushed through the strut and came away with a palmful of splintered pulp. leaving the shape of my fingers carved into the remaining wood. The remaining wood? Sorry, I've literally 12-year-old sense of humour. Destroy evidence. That was a fundamental rule. I quickly pulverised the edges of the shape of my fingertips, leaving nothing but a ragged hole. Leaving nothing but a ragged hole? Man, come on! And a pile of shavings on the floor, which I scattered with my foot. Destroy evidence. Collateral damage. I knew what had to happen now. The girl would have to come and sit beside me, and I would have to kill her. Me going to college, I'm going to have to sit at my desk, and I'm going to have to kill myself. The innocent bystanders in this classroom, 18 other children and one man, could not be allowed to leave, having seen what they would soon see. The face of the monster in my reflection mocked me. You want to kill her, you want to drink her blood. That was dumb, I'm sorry. Even as part of me shuddered away from him, another part was planning what would happen next. If I killed the girl first, I would have only 15 or 20 seconds with her before the humans in the room reacted. Maybe a little longer if at first they did not realise what I was doing. Yeah, sorry, as if like fucking lean over and like bite her neck. Like, oh, they're just kissing in class. That's fine. I thought he was killing her. So the witnesses first then. I mapped it out in my head. I was in the middle of the room, the row farthest from the front. I would take my right side first. I could snap 4 or 5 of their necks per second, I estimated. Sir, are you a fucking athlete? Jesus. It would not be noisy. The right side would be the lucky side. They would not see me coming. Moving around the front and back down the left side, it would take me at most 5 seconds to end every life in this room. Long enough for Bella Swan to see, briefly, what was coming for her. Long enough for her to feel fear. Long enough, maybe, if shock didn't freeze her in place, for her to work up a scream. One soft scream that would not bring anyone running. I took a deep breath, and the scent was of fire that raced through my dry veins, burning out from my chest to consume every better impulse that I was capable of. Now, see, that's another fucking thing. He's obviously being like deep breath to like calm myself, but like, vampires don't need to breathe. It's just like a thing they do to seem human. So, sir, what's the point? She was turning now. In a few seconds, she would sit down inches away from me. The monster in my head exulted. Someone slammed shut a folder on my left. I didn't look up to see which of the doomed humans it was, but the motion sent a wave of ordinary, unscented air wafting across my face. For one short second, I was able to think clearly. In that precious instant, I saw 2 faces in my head, side by side. One was mine, or rather had been, the red-eyed monster that had killed so many people that I'd stopped counting. Rationalised, justified murders. I had been a killer of killers, a killer of other less powerful monsters. It was a god complex, I acknowledged that, deciding who deserved a death sentence. God, this man, fuck me. It was a compromise with myself. I had fed on human blood, but only by the loosest definition. My victims were, in their various dark pastimes, barely more human than I was. The other face was Carlisle's. There was no resemblance between the 2 faces. They were bright day and blackest night. Ugh. Too true. I fucking love Carlisle, guys. We went and saw, I think it was New Moon, me and some friends, whenever we were like 14. And I think the birthday girl got to draw Team Edward on her t-shirt. So, and we all had to have like a different name. So I wrote Team Carlisle on mine because, you know, respect. However, I did spell it wrong. And to this day, that image, that thought that I spelled that wrong haunts me. I'm not lying. I forgot the S. That hurts me in the heart that I did that. I have never felt more like, I was going to say like the film student that I am. I did not study film. I studied character design and I regret it. I was going to say though, I never felt more like a film student because just now my battery died, my SD card was full and I had to like, take it out, take everything off, get it out of the laptop, put it back in. Ugh, craziness. I feel like a professional. Well, that's a fat lie because as I'm talking to my camera, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 books holding it up on top of my desk chair because I do not own a tripod. So I take back what I said about feeling professional. But you know, I feel fun. I feel fun. So having said that, I had to get up, so the angle is possibly slightly different now. Anyway, back to business. I think we're about halfway through chapter 1. Oh yeah, so this was him. The second face he saw was Carlisle. Yeah. My king. There was no resemblance between the two faces. They were bright day and blackest night. There was no reason for a resemblance to exist. Carlisle was not my father in the basic biological sense. Like, we don't look alike because we don't look alike. That's what that says to me. You know, we don't look alike because we shouldn't. Full stop. Period. Anyway, we shared no common features. The similarity in our colouring was a product of what we were. Every vampire was corpse pale. The similarity in the colour of our eyes was another matter, a reflection of a mutual choice. Oh my god, I was talking to my friend about this. I was talking to Clodagh about this, my friend Clodagh. I saw something. This is the thing I love about Twilight. And I say love sincerely because I'll be real, I do. Like, I was bet into it for a good period of time, and I kind of am again now. But there's like still stuff I'm learning. Like, I knew that like obviously people get like pale. Now the thing is that they didn't stick to the movie in this. They didn't stick to this in the movie because, do you know the women vampires? I think who come from like the Brazilian tribes. Like, there was a fact somewhere that's like, oh, whenever the venom goes through you, it removes like all pigment from skin, and it removes all tattoos. And I said to Clodagh, message, and I was like, imagine how fucking pissed off you'd be if you had like absolutely fucking banging tattoos and you fucking woke up and they were all gone. You'd be fuming like. But yeah, that's also like a thing that I just never knew. Like, I never read that in the books. It's that or I like did and completely forgot it. But anyways, as I was saying. And yet, though there was no basis for a resemblance, I'd imagined that my face had begun to reflect his to an extent in the last 70 odd years that I had embraced his choice and followed in his steps. My features had not changed, but it seemed to me as though some of his wisdom had marked my expression. In my head, Carlisle's kind eyes did not judge me. I knew that he would forgive me for this horrible act, because he loved me, because he thought I was better than I was. Bella Swan sat down in the chair next to me, her movements stiff and awkward, no doubt with fear, and the scent of her blood bloomed in an inescapable cloud around me. I would prove my father wrong about me. The misery of this fact hurt almost as much as the fire in my throat. Why had this aggravating human ever been born? She would ruin me. Y'all, be me talking about a crush, like, whenever shit hits the fan or they find somebody else, it's like, why are they born? Why the fuck would I, you know, that shit, that kills. That do be killing the soul, and it obviously do be killing the 108-year-old soul of this horny vampire too, so we love to see it. I turned my face away from her as a sudden, fierce, irrational hatred washed through me. I didn't want to be the monster. I didn't want to kill this room full of harmless children. I didn't want to lose everything I'd gained in a lifetime of sacrifice and denial. I wouldn't. She couldn't make me. Every life in this room was in danger while she and I were in it together. I should run. I wanted to run. To get away from the heat of her next to me and the punishing pain of the burning. But I wasn't 100% sure that if I unlocked my muscles to move, even just to stand, I wouldn't lash out and commit the slaughter I'd already planned. That fucking rhymed, yo. Edward Cullen got them fucking murderous bars, bro. But perhaps I could resist for an hour. Would 1 hour be enough time to gain control to move without striking? I doubted, then forced myself to commit. I would make it enough. Just enough time to get out of this room full of victims that perhaps didn't have to be victims. If I could resist for 1 short hour. It was an uncomfortable feeling not breathing. My body did not need oxygen, but it went against my instincts. Uncomfortable, but manageable. More bearable than smelling her and not sinking my teeth through that fine, thin, see-through skin to the hot, wet, pulsing. This is like, it's very, like, again, I hate to say it. Like, I don't want to be mean to Stephenie Meyer, but do you know, like, in fucking, like, when you learn what an adjective is in first year secondary school and you use 10 to describe something? Or, like, that episode of New Girl where she's, like, teaching the adult class and she's like, I loved all your amazing, and she's used, like, 10 adjectives. That's the vibe right here, right now.
So I want to talk about your creative imagery assignments. Wow, guys. I really felt like I was buried under a giant, gleaming, powdery avalanche of adjectives.
An hour, just 1 hour. I must not think of the scent, the taste. The silent girl kept her hair between us, leaning forward so that it spilled across her folder. I couldn't see her face to try to read the emotions in her clear, deep eyes. Was she trying to hide those eyes from me? Out of fear? Shyness? To keep her secrets? My former irritation at being... oh, fuck me, how do you say that word? Stymied? Stymied? S-T-Y-M-I-E-D?
Stymied.
Her soundless thoughts was weak and pale in comparison to the need and the hate that possessed me now. For I hated this frail girl beside me. Hated her with all the fervour from which I clung to my former self, my love of my family, my dreams of being something better than what I was. Hating her, hating how she made me feel. It helped a little. Would the hour never pass? And when the hour ended, she would walk out of this room. And I would do what? If I could control the monster, make him see that the delay would be worth it, I could introduce myself. Hello, my name is Edward Cullen. May I walk you to your next class? May I fucking bust you open like a fucking Capri Sun? Sir, relax. She would say yes. It would be the polite thing to do. Even already fearing me, as I was sure she did, she would follow convention and walk beside me. It should be easy enough to lead her in the wrong direction. A spur of the forest reached out like a finger to touch the back corner of the parking lot. I could tell her I'd forgotten a book in my car. If I could last an hour, could I last 2? I flinched at the pain of the burning. She would go home to an empty house. Police Chief Swan worked an 8-hour day. I knew his house as I knew every house in the tiny town. His home was nestled right up against thick woods with no close neighbours. Even had she time to scream, which she would not, there would be no one to hear. That would be the responsible way to deal with this. That would be the responsible way to deal with this? Okay. Though I hated her, I was absolutely aware that my hatred was unjust. I knew that what I really hated was myself. Bro, me too, the fuck, oh my god. And I would hate us both so much more when she was dead. I made it through the hour in this way, imagining the best ways to kill her. I tried to avoid imagining the actual act. That might be too much for me, so I planned strategy and nothing more. Once, toward the very end, she peeked up at me through the fluid wall of her hair. Blood painted her cheek before she could hide in her hair again, and I was nearly undone. But the bell rang, and we, how cliché, were saved. She from death, I, for just a short time, from being the nightmarish creature I feared and loathed. Now I had to move. I hate to say it, but like, this man is here being like, I had to move and like not kill her, but it do be like reminding me of like any like TV show or anything where like a guy gets a boner and like can't stand up. He's pure like, like, reel it in, sir. I darted from the room. If anyone had been looking, they might have suspected that there was something not right about my exit. If anyone was looking, they were like, diarrhea. Bro's got diarrhea and he's gotta fucking go. Respect to my man, tear it up. Like, I hid in my car. I didn't like to think of myself as having to hide. How cowardly that sounded. But I didn't have enough discipline left to be around humans now. Focusing so much of my efforts on not killing one of them left me no resources to resist the others. I played a CD that usually calmed me, but it did little for me now. Alexa, play Wet Ass Pussy by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Imagine. Man's in his car like, real like, angst all over the gaff, and it's, get a bucket and a mop. I'd love to see that. Anyways, no. What helped me most was the cool, wet air that drifted with the light rain through my open windows. Oh my god, the windows were open as well? WAP would be blaring across the fucking car park. Though I could remember the scent of Bella Swan's blood with perfect clarity, inhaling this clean air was like washing out the inside of my body from its infection. Coronavirus? I was sane again. I could think again. And I could fight again. I could fight what I didn't want to be. I didn't have to go to her home. I didn't have to kill her. I didn't have to disappoint my father. Me going to art college, I didn't have to, but I did. I didn't have to cause my mother stress, worry, pain. Once again, me going to art college. Perhaps if I avoided this girl very, very carefully, there was no need for my life to change. I had things ordered the way I liked them. Why should I let some aggravating and delicious nobody ruin that? Again, me coming across a crush. You know when you like pass somebody for like a millisecond and you know you'll never see them again and you go into that spiral of, and we run away and get married. Like, why would I let an aggravating and delicious nobody ruin my life like that, you know? I feel you, Edward, I do. How ironic that I'd wanted to protect this human girl from the paltry, toothless threats of Jessica Stanley's snide thoughts. I feel like toothless was maybe an unnecessary pun. If I'm honest there, babe. Like, dear Stephenie Meyer, are you aware that you said toothless in a vampire book? I think this is perhaps too much. I was the last person who would ever stand as a protector for Isabella Swan. As if her dad isn't chief of police. That's rude. He's right fucking there, bro. She would never need protection from anything more than she needed it from me. Where was Alice? I suddenly wondered. Was she so absorbed with watching for trouble with Jasper that she'd miss this much more horrific possibility? Or was I stronger than I thought? Would I really not have done anything to that girl? No, I knew that wasn't true. Alice must be concentrating very hard. Oh my god, very hard on Jasper, but there's a fucking typo. It says very, as in like variable, instead of very, as in like very, very. Once again, Stephenie Meyer, are you aware that there is a typo on page 20 of, oh my god, I'm 20 pages, midnight on. I wish I could ask her advice, but at the same time, I was glad she didn't know what I was capable of. I felt a new burn in through my body, the burn of shame. I didn't want any of them to know. If I could avoid Bella Swan, if I could manage not to kill her, even as I thought that, the monster writhed and gnashed his teeth in frustration, then no one would have to know, if I could keep away from her scent. There was no reason I shouldn't try, at least. Make a good choice. Try to be what Carlisle thought I was. I walked swiftly, a little too swiftly, but there was no witnesses, across the tiny campus to the office. It was empty except for the receptionist, who didn't notice my silent entrance. Miss Cope? The woman with the unnaturally red hair looked up and startled. It always caught them off guard, the little markers they didn't understand, no matter how many times they'd seen one of us before. Oh, she gasped, a little flustered. She smoothed her shirt. Silly, she thought to herself. He's almost young enough to be my son. Ma'am, he's almost old enough to be your great-great-grandfather. Hello, Edward. What can I do for you? Her eyelashes fluttered behind her thick glasses. Uncomfortable. But I knew how to be charming when I wanted to be. I was wondering if you could help me with my schedule, I said in the soft voice I reserved for not scaring humans. I heard the tempo of her heart increase. Of course, Edward, how can I help? Too young, she chanted to herself. I'm loving this. This fucking woman there, like, if you don't stop, sir, I'm gonna jump your fucking old ass bones. Wrong, of course. I was older than her grandfather. Bitch, I just said that. Anyway. Yes, I can see the future. Yes, I am actually Alice. It's me. I was wondering if I could move from my biology class to a senior level science. Physics, perhaps? Is there a problem? Oh my god, there's another fucking typo. There a problem with Mr. Banner, Edward? Not at all, it's just that I've already studied this material. Actually, Edward, physics is pretty much full right now. Mr. Banner hates to have more than 25 students in a class. I wouldn't be any trouble. Of course not a perfect Cullen. I know that, Edward, but there just aren't enough seats as it is. Could I drop the class then? I could use the period for independent study. You won't have enough credits to graduate. I'll catch up next year. Maybe you should talk to your parents about that. The door opened behind me, but whoever it was did not think of me, so I ignored the arrival and concentrated on Miss Cope. I leaned slightly closer and stared as if I was gazing more deeply into her eyes. This would work better if they were gold today instead of black. The blackness frightened people, as it should. That sentence feels a bit not 2020 friendly. Please, Miss Cope, I murmured, my voice as smooth and compelling as it could be, and her momentary aversion eased. Isn't there some other section I could switch to? I'm sure there has to be an open slot somewhere. Sixth hour biology can't be the only option. I smiled at her, careful not to flash my teeth so widely that it would scare her again, letting the expression soften my face. Her heart drummed faster. Too young, she reminded herself frantically. Well, maybe I could talk to Bob. I mean, Mr. Banner. I could see if... A second was all it took to change everything. A second was all it took for Samantha Wells to enter the room, place a signed tardy slip in the basket by the door, and hurry out again in a rush to be away from school. A sudden gust of wind through the door crashed into me, and I realised why that first person through the door had not interrupted me with her thoughts. I turned, though I did not need to make sure. Bella stood with her back... Excuse me, he uses her full name. Oh, my apologies. Bella Swan stood with her back pressed to the wall beside the door, a piece of paper clutched in her hands. My hand hesitated in the air above the counter. I would not have to look back in order to reach across it and slam Miss Cook's head into her desk with enough force to kill her. 2 lives rather than 20. A trade. The monster waited anxiously, hungrily for me to do it. But there was always a choice. There had to be. I cut off the motion of my lungs and fixed Carlisle's face in front of my eyes. Sir, are you in love with Carlisle or Bella? Because I'm feeling the former. And I would agree. I turned back to face Miss Cope and heard her internal surprise at the change in my expression. She shrank away from me, but her fear did not form into coherent words. Using all the control I'd mastered in my decades of self-denial, I made my voice even and smooth. There was just enough air left in my lungs to speak once more, rushing through the words. Never mind then. I can see that it's impossible. Thank you so much for your help. I spun and launched myself from the room, trying not to feel the warm-blooded heat of the girl's body as I passed within inches of it. I didn't stop until I was in my car, moving too fast the entire way there. When I slid into my Volvo, the others were already there. I tried to control my breathing, but I was gasping at the fresh air as if I'd been suffocated. Edward? Alice? Sorry, that was a bit dramatic. Got in too far into my role there. Edward? Alex asked, alarm in her voice. I just shook my head at her. What the hell happened to you? Emmett demanded, distracted for the moment from the fact that Jasper was not in the mood for his rematch. I swung the car around and accelerated. I hit 40 before I was out of the parking lot. On the road I hit 70 before I made the corner. Without looking, I knew that Emmett, Rosalie and Jasper had all turned to stare at Alice. She shrugged. She couldn't see what had passed, only what was coming. She looked ahead for me now. We both processed what she saw in her head, and we were both surprised. You're leaving? She whispered. The others stared at me now. Am I? I snarled through my teeth. She saw it then as my resolve wavered and another choice spun my future in a darker direction. The picture grew more specific. I saw the inside of Chief Swan's house for the first time. Saw Bella in a small kitchen with yellow cupboards, her back to me as I stalked her from the shadows. Let the scent pull me toward her. Stop, I groaned, not able to bear more. Sorry, she whispered. The monster rejoiced. And the vision in her head shifted again. An empty highway at night, the trees beside it coated in snow, flashing by at almost 200 miles per hour. I'll miss you, she said, no matter how short a time you're gone. And then Edward drove off and this story never happened. Just kidding, guys. Emmett and Rosalie exchanged an apprehensive glance. We were almost at the turn-off onto the long drive that led to our home. Drop us here, Alice instructed. You should tell Carlisle yourself. I nodded and the car squealed to a sudden stop. Y'all, not my battery dying when I have quite literally 2 lines left in the first chapter. I can't believe it. Cursed. I am cursed. I'm just going to read the last little paragraph again and then we outie, kids. I knew the visions in Alice's head would be flashing from dark to bright like a strobe light as I sped back to Forks doing 90. I wasn't sure where I was going. To say goodbye to my father or to embrace the monster inside me. The road flew away beneath my tires. And that was chapter 1, you guys. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed reading it. I feel like I wish it had been more cringy so I could like piss myself laughing more, but oh well. I had a giggle all the same. I hope you enjoyed this. If you happen to be seeing this, if you happen to make it out of my camera and onto a platform where people can view this. If not, Fanula, if you ever watch this back to yourself, I hope you lost weight. I don't know what the story with this is. I'm wondering, I was discussing with friends, I was discussing with business partners about my very serious podcast idea, which is me reading Midnight Sun and fucking reacting. So not a serious podcast idea. But I'm wondering maybe if this is the sort of thing that would be better as like an IG live. And I could just read it out, and anyone who, God forbid, has any interest in me, the book, and or both, could like watch with me and it'd be funny that way. Or whether, again, I'm talking as if I have like 100 subscribers at least, or if you guys prefer this format, let me know in the comments, where you will like, subscribe, blah blah, whatever. Yeah, let me know if you haven't, again, if you happen to make it this far, if you happen to enjoy any so much of the moment of this, I would love to know. And let me know what you think. Is it more fun this way, with just me just reading it and talking to myself in my freaking bedroom? Or would it be more fun for me to react with people or whatever? Anyway, that was the first episode of Midnight Hun. I want to say this will be weekly, but listen, I'm not a woman for making promises, but we'll see. Bye guys, this was fun. And I'll hopefully see you again, if this makes it off the camera. Bye!